She's ignoring you and you're sitting there overthinking every detail, wondering what went wrong. Should you text her again? Should you wait it out? Maybe say something clever to get her attention. No, that's exactly what she expects you to do. That's what most men do. Panic and react. But that's not what you're going to do today. Because when a woman ignores you, there's only one type of move that truly holds weight. And it has nothing to do with begging, chasing, or proving yourself. It's about choosing dignity over desperation. In this video, I'm going to walk you through exactly what to do the moment she pulls away, step by step. And not just what to do, but how to think. Because this isn't just about getting her attention back. It's about shifting into a mindset where you become the kind of man who doesn't need attention to feel grounded. The kind of man who doesn't chase what's confused about him. So, if you've been ghosted, ignored, or emotionally shut out, keep watching. What you do right now could either reinforce her decision or make her start rethinking everything. Number one, don't panic. Pause and don't panic. Pause and breathe. Breathe. You feel the shift. She's not replying. She's colder. And your heart starts racing. That's normal. But reacting emotionally, that's not power. It's panic. Breathe. A stoic man always pauses before he moves. He knows that silence is not a threat. It's space. And in that space, you get to choose who you are. This is where most men fall into the trap. She stops texting and suddenly your mind starts spinning stories. Did I mess up? Is she losing interest? Should I do something right now before she slips away? That anxious energy builds fast, and before you know it, you're typing something you'll regret, something needy, something reactive. But ask yourself, would the man you want to become respond like that? Let me tell you something. When a woman ignores you, what she feels should not dictate what you feel. This is where stoicism becomes your shield. You don't rush to fix. You don't chase clarity from someone who's choosing to create confusion. Instead, you slow down. You breathe deep. You anchor yourself to something stronger than emotion. Principle. A stoic man doesn't fight for attention. He cultivates presence. And part of that presence is knowing how to sit with uncertainty without losing yourself. Her silence is not the end of the story. It's a page you don't have to write on yet. Let her turn it. Think of this. If she stops texting today and your first instinct is to spiral or beg for her attention, what message are you really sending? You're showing her that your inner peace is fragile, that her absence makes you collapse. But when you pause, when you breathe, when you keep moving through your day with clarity, she sees something else. A man who doesn't crumble when he's not being validated. Imagine this scenario. She leaves your last message on read. You see it. You feel that sting. But instead of chasing, you go to the gym. You focus on your mission. You call a friend. You do anything that brings you back to yourself. Not because you're pretending not to care, answering you. It stings. It triggers your need for validation. You want to double text. You want to ask if everything's okay. But stop right there because this is the moment that defines your strength. This is the moment when you decide, do I chase her attention or do I protect my peace? A stoic man chooses the latter. He doesn't ignore reality, but he also doesn't create stories that don't serve him. He doesn't act out of desperation. He observes without overreacting. Because if a woman truly values you, she won't disappear in silence. And if she does, if she fades without explanation, it's not your job to chase clarity. It's your job to stay grounded. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this and you will find strength. Her silence, that's an outside event. Your reaction, that's where your power lives. So don't waste energy trying to decode every second of her distance. Focus instead on your own alignment, your own peace, your own clarity. When a woman ignores you, the worst thing you can do is betray your self-respect by begging for answers. The best thing, be still. Observe. Let her silence speak for itself. Sometimes the truth shows up in what's not said, And the man who can sit with that silence without flinching is the man who commands respect, not just from her, but from himself. And if that message resonated with you even just a little, then you already understand what most men overlook, that emotional discipline is your true edge. So before we move forward, take a moment to reflect. What part of this hit home for you? What have you learned about yourself through her silence? Drop a comment and share your thoughts. I'd love to hear from you. And if you're finding value in this message, show some support, hit the like button, and stay with me because what comes next will help you reclaim even more of your power. Number 3, pull back, not away. Pull back, not away. You don't need to cut her off. You don't need to disappear, but you do need to pull your energy back. Stop initiating. Stop giving to someone who isn't showing up. A stoic man doesn't withdraw in anger. He re-enters in calm. That difference, it's what sets him apart. When a woman starts ignoring you, when her replies slow down, when the energy shifts and you feel that emotional distance, it's tempting to chase clarity. You want to know what changed, you want to fix it. But here's where most men fail. They overextend themselves. They double their efforts when she's already showing half the interest. And in doing so, they teach her that she doesn't have to show up fully to keep his attention. But you're going to do something different. You're going to pull back, not as a tactic to get a reaction, but as a return to balance. You're not punishing her. You're protecting your energy. That's a key distinction because a stoic man doesn't act from impulse. He observes, reflects, and then chooses his next move with purpose. Imagine this. You text her and she doesn't reply for hours, maybe days. No explanation, no effort. Instead of texting again and spiraling into overthinking, you stop. You sit with the silence. You ask yourself, is this woman matching my energy, or am I carrying the entire connection alone? And from that moment of awareness, you choose to stop feeding a dynamic that feels one-sided. This isn't about going cold. It's not about being distant or emotionally unavailable. It's about creating space for her to feel your absence. Yes, but more importantly, for you to reconnect with your own value. When you stop giving to someone who isn't reciprocating, you make room for self-respect, for growth, for clarity. Stoicism isn't about being detached. It's about being deliberate. A stoic man knows that love, attention, and presence should be given freely but not foolishly. He doesn't continue investing in someone who's showing disinterest, hoping they'll come around. He stands firm. He pulls back, not away. And here's the beauty of it. When you stop overgiving, you become more visible. Your silence becomes louder than your words. She might begin to wonder where your attention went, why you're no longer chasing. And that shift when she starts to feel your absence is often when she starts to reflect on your presence. Mirror her energy calmly. Number 4, mirror her energy calmly. If she's distant, match it, but don't do it with bitterness. You're not punishing her. You're simply showing that you're not dependent. A stoic man doesn't chase imbalance. He responds with a steady presence. Mirror, but don't lose your frame. Let's talk about what that really means. When a woman starts to ignore you, it's easy to feel like you're losing ground. You might feel that itch to prove yourself, to reach out more, to regain her attention. That reaction comes from fear, not clarity. And that's exactly what you need to avoid. See, when you mirror her energy calmly, you're not trying to manipulate the situation. You're simply refusing to carry a connection all on your own. You're stepping back just enough to honor the balance, or the lack of it. Let's say she used to send good morning texts, talk throughout the day, and suddenly she becomes dry or completely silent. The old version of you might have chased her with questions or overextended your energy, but a man grounded in stoicism doesn't panic when the external changes. He checks in with his internal world, and in that space, he reminds himself of a simple truth. If it's mutual, it flows. If it's forced, it fades. This isn't about playing games, it's about emotional self-respect. You're not becoming cold or detached. you're becoming aligned with reality. Her pulling back gives you information. Your calm response gives her contrast, and in that contrast, she starts to feel your absence, not as a punishment, but as a mirror. She sees that your interest is strong, but never needy, that you're warm, but not desperate, that you care, but only where effort is matched. Stoicism teaches that external events aren't under our control, but our response always is. So, if she ignores you, don't match her distance with pettiness or sarcasm. Don't post cryptic messages. Don't let your ego hijack the moment. Just adjust your effort. Sit back in calm observation. Let her feel your emotional discipline. Because a man who can mirror without losing himself, that's rare, that's powerful. And more often than not, that's exactly what brings her back. Wondering why your silence doesn't beg, but speaks louder than words. Number 5, reclaim the focus on you. Reclaim the focus on you. This is your cue to shift the spotlight to your goals, your routine, your mind. When a woman starts to ignore you, when her responses get shorter, her energy starts fading, or her presence just quietly slips away, your instinct might scream at you to fix it, to call, to ask, to explain yourself. But that's the moment you need to stop. That's not a call to action toward her. It's a call to return to yourself. See, a weak man sees her distance and immediately tries to bridge the gap. He reaches out more. He over-explains. He tries to prove he's still worthy of her time. But a stoic man knows better. He doesn't chase. He recalibrates. He turns inward not to hide, but to strengthen. He understands that her absence isn't his loss unless he makes it his obsession. Instead of losing himself trying to win her back, he wins himself back by going deeper into the mission that defines him. Think of a man building a house. If one person walks away mid-construction, he doesn't burn it down in frustration. He keeps building. That's you. That's your mindset. Let her pull back. Let her watch from a distance. But don't pause your life waiting for her return. Go harder on your goals. Wake up earlier. Get stronger. Learn more. Expand. You weren't born to orbit someone else's mood. You were born to build something solid within yourself. One of the core teachings of Stoicism is this: you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. Her silence is an outside event, but your response, that's yours. You control that. So don't let her distance define your value. Let it remind you that your focus was never meant to be all on her in the first place. When she ignores you, do this immediately. Pour all that energy back into yourself. Not to get her attention, but to remember your own. Because here's the twist most men don't see. When you stop trying to prove yourself, when you stop dancing for someone who stopped clapping, that's when you become magnetic. Not because you're playing a game, but because you're grounded. You become the man who doesn't fall apart under pressure. You become the man who continues to rise even when someone turns their back. So step back, not to punish, but to protect your peace. Reclaim your focus. Be the man she might ignore now, but won't forget later. Not because of what you said, but because of who you became when she stopped looking. Now pause for a moment and ask yourself this: am I chasing or am I building? That simple question can change everything. You see, growth doesn't happen in her attention. It happens in your discipline. This isn't about revenge or proving a point. It's about proving to yourself that you won't crumble just because someone went quiet. So before we move forward, I want to hear from you. What part of this message hit home the most? Drop a comment below and share your thoughts. Or if you're keeping it simple, just type, "My focus is my power." Let's keep growing. Let's keep building. The next part is just as important. Resist the fix-it instinct, number 6. Resist the fix-it instinct. You might feel tempted to fix things, ask questions, send long texts. Don't. Her silence is not a puzzle you need to solve. A stoic man doesn't step into emotional chaos that isn't his. He protects his peace like a warrior guards a fortress. And let's Be honest, when a woman begins to pull away, when her replies become slower, colder, or even disappear altogether, it stirs something inside you. That itch to fix it. You tell yourself, if I can just get her to talk, maybe we can get back on track. You draft that long message thinking it will bring clarity or worse, bring her back. But here's the truth you need to face. When she chooses silence, she is also choosing distance. And your job is not to beg for understanding. It's to respect her space without compromising your own dignity. This is where many men fail. They think more words will solve the issue, that more effort will soften the silence. But in reality, every extra text, every attempt to pull her back emotionally only reinforces the power imbalance. You're placing your peace in her hands. You're letting her mood dictate your worth. That is not the Stoic way. A Stoic man sees that emotions, especially those of others, are beyond his control. What is in his control? His response, his discipline, his ability to stay grounded when everything around him feels uncertain. Just like Marcus Aurelius said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. So instead of reacting with panic, he responds with presence, with calm. He allows her silence to be just that. Her silence not a reflection of his value. Imagine this. She goes quiet. Instead of chasing, you continue your day. You train, you work, you grow. You don't punish her. You don't play games. But you also don't chase breadcrumbs. That shift in energy, that emotional stillness is powerful. It tells her without saying a word. I won't beg to be seen. I won't compete for your attention. I am whole with or without your validation. And that's when the silence often breaks. Not because you forced it, but because your detachment revealed something rare. A man who isn't controlled by fear or need. A man who can walk through uncertainty without losing himself. So when you feel that rush to explain, to fix, to get answers, pause. That pause, it's your power. It's your discipline. And it might just be the one thing that shifts the entire dynamic back in your favor. Don't feed the fire of ego number 7. Don't feed the fire of ego. Your ego will scream, how dare she ignore me? It'll demand answers, attention, justice. It wants to prove you're still important, still seen. And that impulse to react, to confront, to push for a reply is exactly what makes so many men lose their power in moments like this. When a woman ignores you, your first battle is not with her silence. It's with your own ego. And that battle is internal. You see, a man without discipline will try to soothe his ego immediately. He'll send another text or he'll make a sarcastic comment on social media. Maybe he'll even try to make her jealous posting stories, trying to trigger a reaction. But here's the truth. All of that is weakness in disguise. It's not strength. It's ego-fueled desperation masked as confidence. And women feel the difference. Now a Stoic man, he responds differently. He doesn't need attention to feel secure. He doesn't seek closure from someone who's gone silent. He understands a simple truth that most overlook. Not everything deserves your energy. Not every silence must be filled. And not every cold shoulder is worth a warm reaction. Let me paint a picture for you. Imagine a man who's been dating a woman for a few weeks. The connection was real, or so it seemed. But suddenly she pulls back. She stops initiating. Her replies get shorter. Eventually she goes quiet. His friends tell him to just call her or get some answers, but he doesn't. Not out of spite, not because he's playing games, but because he understands what's happening. He realizes that her silence is her message. And rather than feeding the fire of his bruised ego, he lets it burn alone. He goes to the gym. He returns to his mission. He spends time in solitude, not sulking, but sharpening. He's not obsessing over what she's doing or who she's with. He's reminding himself who he is. That, my friend, is Stoic strength. It's the rare kind of masculinity that doesn't crumble under emotional pressure. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this and you will find strength. Her silence, that's an outside event. Your reaction, that's your territory. And when you master your reaction, you master your life. So, when your ego demands a performance, don't give it one. Don't try to win a game that isn't even worth playing. Let her silence speak. And let your silence, your calm, your restraint speak even louder. Because when a woman pulls away and finds you still standing, unbothered, grounded, and composed, that's when she starts to wonder. That's when the silence becomes hers to sit with, not yours. You don't win her respect by chasing. You win it by not needing the chase. That's what it means to stop feeding the fire of ego. That's what it means to be a stoic man in the middle of emotional noise. Number 8, reestablish emotional boundaries. Have you been overgiving, too available? Her silence is a wake-up call, not a punishment, not an insult, just a signal that something is out of alignment. And instead of rushing to fix it, this is your moment to pause and recalibrate. When a woman begins to ignore you, many men immediately start trying harder. They send more messages. They ask, "What went wrong?" They try to prove their value. But here's the truth. Overextending yourself only depletes your worth in her eyes. This is where you draw a quiet, invisible line, not out of anger, but out of self-respect. You don't have to slam doors or make dramatic declarations. A stoic man doesn't need to be loud to be powerful. He simply stops giving what isn't being received. He recognizes that emotional overexposure is not connection. It's self-neglect. So he pulls his energy inward. He becomes more selective, less accessible, more discerning with his time and presence. Think of it like this. If you've been pouring your energy into someone who's not matching you, what message does that send about your standards? A woman may ignore you for many reasons: uncertainty, pride, testing you, or even her own distractions. But none of those reasons justify you abandoning your emotional boundaries. Instead of asking, "What can I do to win her attention back?" ask yourself, "Why did I let myself become so available to someone who's gone silent?" You don't owe anyone explanations for setting boundaries, and you don't need validation to maintain them. Stoicism teaches us that we don't need to control others. We just need to master ourselves. So don't retreat with bitterness. Don't try to manipulate her back into your life. Just reestablish your center quietly, firmly, calmly. And here's the beauty of it. When you shift that energy back to yourself, you'll notice your mind clearing. You'll stop overthinking. You'll stop wondering. And you'll start remembering who you are. The man who doesn't need to be chosen to feel worthy. The man who evolves in silence. The man whose peace is not negotiable. Let her feel your absence, not to provoke, but to protect your value. Because when you stop overgiving and reestablish your emotional boundaries, you don't lose her attention. You regain your own. And that's where real strength begins. Take a moment here. Just breathe. Let everything you've just heard settle in. This isn't about playing cold or pretending you don't care. It's about remembering that your energy has value and not everyone deserves unlimited access to it. If this part of the journey resonated with you, I invite you to reflect. Where have you been overextending yourself? Where do your boundaries need reinforcing? Drop your thoughts in the comments or simply type, "I protect my peace." Now let's move forward with that energy. Number 9, observe her silently. Observe her silently. You don't need answers, just attention. Watch how she moves. Does she reach out? Does her effort match yours? A woman's true interest is shown through consistency, not words. The stoic man becomes a quiet observer, not a noisy seeker. And that's exactly the shift you must make when she begins to ignore you. Don't send another message asking if she's okay. Don't try to fill the silence with explanations. Just observe. With calm, with clarity, with control. grounded. You're awake. And when you move from reaction to observation, you reclaim your peace. And sometimes that calm presence alone is enough to make her realize what she's losing. Number 10, reassess her place in your life. Ask yourself honestly, does she still belong in your story? Or are you holding on simply because her silence feels like rejection and you're scared to let go? When a woman ignores you, it shakes something deep inside. A part of you that craves certainty, validation, connection. But the moment you feel ignored, that's when you must stop reaching outward and start turning inward. Because chasing silence only leads to more confusion. A stoic man instead pauses. He doesn't let discomfort dictate his next move. He lets clarity lead. Now look deeper. Has she truly added to your life? Or have you been making room for someone who's only halfway present? If her attention has become inconsistent, if you're always the one reaching out, always the one carrying the weight of the connection, then what are you really clinging to? Love or habit, hope or ego? Stoicism teaches us that attachment without alignment is suffering. That when someone's presence starts disturbing your inner peace, their absence may be your greatest gift in disguise. Let's break it down with a real example. Say you've been seeing a woman for a few months. At first, it's mutual. Texts flow easily, plans are made, there's laughter, connection, momentum, but then slowly the energy shifts. She stops replying as often. She cancels plans last minute. She's online but not engaging with you. That ache you feel, that's not love. It's misalignment. Now you have two choices. Keep holding on tighter to something that's slipping away or step back and reassess from a higher place. This is where the Stoic man separates himself from the crowd. He doesn't spiral into self-doubt. He doesn't beg for attention. He doesn't weaponize silence or try to manipulate her response. Instead, he asks one powerful question. Is this still serving my peace, or is it costing me more than it gives? That one question can save you from months, sometimes years of emotional confusion. A woman who genuinely values you will make her presence known. She won't keep you guessing. She won't vanish when it matters. But if she's silent, distant, or cold, and if that's becoming a pattern, then it's time to ask, is her presence bringing clarity or chaos? A Stoic man is not afraid to walk away, not because he stopped caring, but because he started caring more about his emotional well-being than chasing someone who doesn't see his value. Let her feel your absence, number 11. Let her feel your absence. And finally, disappear with dignity. Not to get a reaction, not to play games, but to honor your worth. Because when a woman ignores you, the worst thing you can do is start performing. Sending long paragraphs, calling twice, posting stories to provoke a response. That's not strength. That's insecurity in disguise. And deep down, you know it. A Stoic man chooses self-respect over emotional noise. He understands that if her attention has faded, then your silence must rise. Let me tell you something powerful. Absence is not just about walking away. It's about walking inward into your own mind, your own standards, your own discipline. You don't leave her life to punish her. You leave to protect yourself. There's a difference. One is ego. The other is wisdom. And Stoicism teaches us that wisdom begins when you stop chasing what isn't meant for you. When a woman chooses to ignore your presence, that's your signal, not to try harder, but to return to yourself. You don't need to burn bridges. You don't need to slam doors. Just fade with calm, with grace, with the quiet confidence of a man who knows that his value isn't tied to someone else's attention span. Picture this. You gave effort, time, emotional presence, and now she's distant, cold, unavailable. It's tempting to remind her of what she's losing. But here's the truth. If she doesn't feel it on her own, your words won't help. So you say nothing. You reclaim your energy. You shift your focus from her to you. Not because you stopped caring, but because you started caring enough about yourself. Letting her feel your absence isn't a tactic, it's a transformation. You become the man who doesn't chase validation, who doesn't beg to be seen, who can walk away without bitterness because he has something even more powerful than her attention. Inner stillness, and when that silence settles in, when your name isn't popping up on her phone anymore, when your presence isn't there to comfort her or feed her ego, that's when the emotional tables begin to turn. And if she ever comes back, it's not because you begged, it's because your absence revealed something her pride tried to deny. That you were never just another option. You were the man who could have stayed but chose peace instead. That kind of decision doesn't scream, it echoes. And that echo can linger longer than any argument or final goodbye. You've made it to the end, and if you're still watching, that tells me one thing. You're not like most men. You're not here to beg, chase, or perform. You're here to grow, to learn how to respond with strength, not react from fear. Because being ignored by a woman isn't just a test of your patience, it's a mirror. And how you handle that silence reveals whether you lead with ego or with grounded presence. This video wasn't about tricks. It wasn't about getting her back. It was about getting yourself back. The man who doesn't collapse under emotional pressure. The man who doesn't overextend where energy isn't matched. The stoic man who leads with principle, protects his peace, and lets absence speak where words would fail. So, if her silence ever makes you question your worth, don't answer with noise. Answer with stillness. Not for revenge, not for validation, but because calm is your native state and clarity. That's your compass. If this spoke to something in you, do the one thing she's not expecting. Focus on you. And while you're at it, help more men do the same. Like the video. Leave a comment below sharing which mindset shift hit hardest for you. And if you're serious about this path, check out the next video on screen. You're not alone, and this is just the beginning.